Good morning, Managing Critic, Motivated morning here today. Those of you new to the group, I'm Cheryl Andrews, and if we haven't met already, a gorgeous welcome to you. Today's subject is turning fear of failure into fuel. So a gorgeous welcome. I hope you've all had a lovely spring bank holiday weekend. I hope you made the most of the sunshine and did whatever you want to do more of what you love. But ultimately, if you have to do stuff, you have to learn how to love the stuff you have to do that gets you to where you want to be, where you want to have, that sort of stuff. So today I want to talk about this fear of failure. And the reason I want to talk about that is because I remember when I very first set my business up back in 2008, I really wanted to eradicate fear of failure and feelings of guilt. And the more I started working with clients about their fear of failure, and we started to really tap into what it was, where did it come from, and what would it like to have happen. That's when the magic started to happen, when it started to become a fuel to drive them. So one of the things for me, personally, what I noticed is that I was really good at being motivated. If I saw somebody else struggling and I could do something to help, I would go above and beyond to do anything I could to help people. Now, in the drama triangle, I probably, more often than not, was coming from a place of rescuer. I had perceived and I'd inferred that they needed help. I then wanted to make myself useful. And then what would happen is motivation would be fueled by the feedback that I got from them. So when I had a fear that they were failing, I'd be motivated to take action. But if the feedback I got was sort of like that I wasn't very helpful, they didn't need my help, blah, 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 then I get demotivated. And so I started just being curious about that for me personally, and I started being curious about it with my clients. A lot of my clients, when I was really listening to them, it was more to do with that they were very driven to help other people. Now, when you get down to the nitty-gritty of all of this, most of it comes down to your own individual way of processing information, evaluating it, and then making a decision what you're going to do with it. And so I want you to be so there's three ways you can change this, if you like, turn the fuel into the fear of failure into fuel. One, you can get clarity of your fuel. When it's fuel is like what? So focus on the outcome that you want. So you can focus on that. The other thing you can do is get confidence in the process. So you could actually get clarity of the fear of failure, that's like what. Get clarity of the fuel, and that's like what. And then think about what happens in between. So you can start to become really, really clear about the process in between fear of failure and fuel. And all the time that you're doing that, I would invite you to change the way that you're collecting the data, collecting the feedback, and predominantly make sure that you give what's working, what's not working, and what could work better more attention. And you've probably seen the model on the videos before, but then it's separating out the actual feedback so that you're looking at what are you actually seeing, what are you inferring, and then what's the impact on you. And the impact's really important because, so I'll give you a live example. Okay, in February this year, before lockdown, my daughter said that she had a wedding that she wanted to go to, so that she really wanted to be able to wear a suit that fitted well. And so I was really excited, and I thought, great, because if I'm honest, from the outside, I love her as she is, but I would have liked her to have lost some weight because if she looked like, I was worried about her health. But I remember being in that situation as a child when my parents would go on about my weight. So I had said it in the past, I'd stopped saying it, and I started loving and accepting her as she was. But she said she wants to lose weight. So one, I'm really pleased because it means I can stop worrying about her. Two, I can see that she really wants it for this particular wedding. So I jump into rescue mode. I said, okay, right, I'll buy you the suit. If you lose the weight, or when you lose the weight, I'll buy the suit. I said, and actually I could do with losing some weight, so I'll join you on this journey. Anyway, the long and short is we've set up a WhatsApp group. She has consistently lost weight. Now she works in a care home, so she has been under huge amounts of pressure, huge amounts of stress over the last 8 or 9 weeks, since February. And she eats in the home with the residents, service users, and so sometimes the food is out of her control, and yet she has consistently lost weight, and she has done amazing. However, I am now £3 or £4 heavier than when I started with her in February. And so what fueled this video was that I actually had this pang of sort of this fear of failure. And I know when the fear of failure is there because I can sort of feel the tears at the back of my eyes. It's like I can sort of get that sensation. And so when I get these pangs now, I had a similar one as well because I've got the 7-day Make It Happen. We've got 2 people signed up. It's starting on Monday. I really want to get 12 people on that group, in that session, because it's not about the money. It's about the fact that when there's 12 people, there's more energy, it's not just, the energy is not coming from me, it's coming from everybody else that's contributing to the motivation. So I had that pang going on and this thing about this weight loss. And so when I get this pang of fear of failure, I kind of go, okay, there's something here. And now this fear of failure is my warning light that something really matters to me. And to double check that I'm doing what I'm doing for me and for the right reasons, and checking the impact it's going to have on both me, my business, and my family. So here's what I've done this morning is I've gone, okay, so fear of failure for me is a bit like, it's like a big weight that pulls me down. It's like, it's like somebody has tied my feet down to the ground, and it makes me feel like I can't get anything right, okay? Whereas fuel is like, it's like I'm like an energized bunny, and the Duracell bunny, if you've ever seen the advert in the UK, and I'm like running on energy and I can really do it. So I was like, okay, so the first thing I'm doing is like, so what works about this fear of failure? Okay, so it's holding me still. Well, I know that in my process of the principles I will follow for the activating action, pause is one of them. So one of the things that fear of failure might be is that actually I just need to stop, breathe, and just double check, what do I want and why do I want it and who do I want it for, to get absolute clarity of what I want. And what I realised when I checked in with myself, I was feeling a failure. It wasn't fear of failure. I was feeling a failure because I'd gained £3 instead of losing weight since February when I started this journey with my daughter. And what I realised is that back then I didn't really want to lose weight. I wanted to help my daughter. However, and I'm very grateful we did the journey together, because now I can hear myself changing the feedback I'm giving myself. It's like I've only gained £3. And I did quite a bit of comfort eating and stress eating in that first 8 weeks, as I know a lot of people did do during the lockdown. But so I've only gained £3. Having done that, I've committed to a reasonable amount of fitness and activity. So when I start to stop and use this fear of failure metaphor to just ground myself and go, okay, so what's happening? What would I like to have happen? And what I want now, is that the same as what I wanted back in February? And the truth is, back in February, I didn't really want to lose weight. I really wanted to support my daughter. And I made an assumption that having me lose weight with her would be encouraging and supportive, because that's what would have worked for me. And ironically, that is what's worked for me, because I've been supported. She isn't bothered. She has a different feedback model. She's really focused on her own goals and what she wants to do. And so being with her since February, watching her lose weight, hearing how she's making decisions, hearing her excited, seeing her change, show the clothes getting baggy on her, is been what's inspired me. So rather than looking back and going, actually, I failed because since February I haven't done it, I can go, okay, so since February, what's worked? So what's worked is I've become conscious of my food. What's worked is I got weighed once a week, so I was conscious of my weight. So what's worked is I haven't put on much weight despite the change of eating over the first initial 8 weeks of the lockdown. And what is working right now is that I've already got in the routines this week and the last week just gone by. I started weighing every day. Now, from my Slimming World days, they would say to you, don't weigh every day because your body fluctuates. And that's true if you can't take the feedback. Okay, if you getting on the scales and seeing a weight loss means you'll go, oh great, I can eat chocolate today all day, it doesn't matter. And if you see a weight gain, you're going to get depressed and go, I can eat chocolate today because there's no point doing it because I haven't lost any weight. Then if your reaction to the feedback is going to be one that's going to demotivate you, then no, don't get weighed every day. But what I realised is that getting weighed once a week wasn't giving me enough feedback. It wasn't giving me feedback daily. And so today, this is my 8th day of getting weighed daily. And the last 3 days, there's been no change. Now, I'd lost weight, maintained, lost a little bit, put on a bit. So I've lost £1 over the week. But today, if this is the third day, I've not really seen a change in the scales. And that's when I got that fear of failure again. But I have to tell my system, let my system know, separating it out, that from February until a week ago, I hadn't really decided I really want to lose weight. So I'm only just now deciding I want to lose weight, and I'm actually a pound lighter than when I started a week ago. And so the reason I'm telling you this story is because I want you to think about, when you get clarity of what you want, how many times you start things and you don't really want it, you're just doing it because you think you ought to, should do, somebody else has told you you ought to do. So unless you get that deep why, so whatever the thing is that you're asking yourself to do, whether it's grow your business, lose weight, tidy the house, decorate, clean, whatever you think you ought to, should do, if you get clear what's the impact going to be. So when you do that, what happens to you, your health, your wealth, your health and well-being? When you do that, what happens to your family? When you do that, what happens to your business or your work life? What happens to your community? What happens to your country? What happens to the globe? What's the ripple effect of you doing that? What happens around you? And whatever your motivator is, wherever your motivation comes from. Now, for me, the biggest thing is always my role model to my children. And so my son is in the group, and so is my daughter. And so the way that I show up and the way I behave in that group, for me, that's about role modeling them. So I'm showing them how I'm dealing with my failure and then deciding what I'm going to do to take action going forward. So the first thing is get clarity of what you want, why you want it, and who do you want it for. And then the next thing is to be confident in the process, is knowing the process. And most things that we really want, there are big changes in our life, they often will take time. So how are you going to remind yourself why you want it, who you want it, and who do you want it for? What, why, and who? What are you going to do to remind yourself? And so for me, I've got some post-it notes here. But what I've realised, just as I said this to you just then, and I've only just noticed it, is that it's words and numbers. But it hasn't really got it's not, I need a picture, and I have a picture of me when I was at the weight I want to get back to, which was in year 2000, so it's 20 years ago now when I was that weight, and I truly believe I can get back there. So I need to get that picture somewhere, even if I've got it in my metaphorical mind, that I've got that picture. I don't even know where it is at the moment, but I can imagine it right now. And so the confidence in the process comes from knowing where you are now, where you want to be, and thinking about how long it's going to take. Now, 9 times out of 10, we lose motivation and we lose that fuel to keep going because we underestimate how long it's going to take or overestimate. Our timings aren't right. So either things happen faster than we can process, or they don't happen quick enough for us to feel like it's going to be possible. So what I also know in terms of my weight loss journey is that I'm committed to getting healthier and fitter. I'm committed to doing more exercise and being stronger. I'm committed to eating less of the sugary foods and more of the healthy foods. And so that is a lifelong commitment. It doesn't matter how long this takes me, because I also know that when I commit to that way of living, I get instant change right now. I have more energy, I feel better, I feel more fueled, I feel more focused, I have more clarity of thought, I can think better, I can problem solve better. So even if the result takes longer, the behaviour and the action I have to take every day to achieve it, I get instant feedback that it's worth it because I feel better in myself on a daily basis. I feel lighter even if the scales don't say I am. I feel stronger and firmer even if I can't see it in the actual mirror. And so clarity of what you want, confidence in the process, know how much time it's going to take. But it's always going to come back to, in my experience, changing the way that you listen to, give, receive, and invite feedback. And so what I'm going to focus on for this next 7 days is I'm going to get on the scales again every day for another week. Then I'm going to go back to weekly because I realised I just needed this to kickstart. In some ways, it was actually kickstarting the fear of failure. I needed to ground myself, slow myself down and notice what is happening. And what I know now is that I've got to focus on that energized feeling, that feeling that food is fueling me. So it's about actually turning the food into fuel rather than the fear of failure. It's about fueling my system with food that energizes me, that makes me feel clearer, that makes me feel more confident. And what I realise now is that in an attempt to lose weight fast. I actually cut down an awful lot of food. I left myself feeling a bit dizzy and a bit faint, and that wasn't particularly, my body isn't going to be fueled by that. It's not going to think this is a good thing to be doing. But I also recognise that short-term pain is part of that long-term gain. Anyway, there doesn't seem to be anybody on live right now. So the summary of, and it's always the same process, you might have gathered this by now, but I'm just showing you how you can apply the same thing, that when you listen to yourself, you can get clarity of what you want, you can get confidence in the process, but you can also change what you're paying attention to. What are you measuring your progress by? What are you doing to recognise that change is happening and the quality of the feedback you're giving yourself? So today, what's happened for me, instead of seeing fear of failure when I first started on this course, the video this morning was like a knot in my stomach. But then it became these kind of big weights on my feet that are holding me down. And I was thinking this is a really bad thing. And when I focused on, changed the feedback, I focused on what works about these things. Now I feel really grounded and really strong. And I know that if I do the weightlifting with these weights on my feet, I'm going to get even stronger. So rather than this fear of failure being something that's going to hold me back, it's now going to fuel me to go forward. And that's the power of metaphor. That's the power of modeling your experience. But I know this comes about because when it sounds like it's something that's really bad, what I've learned to do over the years is go, well, that's like what? And what works about this? Why is my body or my head or my brain doing this? Because I know it's hardwired to protect me. So what is it that it's doing? And so actually what I've done is it's realised if these weights are on my feet, if I carry them around all day and stomp, I'm going to fuel myself into be able to be this more energised, more focused person. And so tell me today, please, what are your goals, outcomes, aspirations? What would you like to have happen? If you could work with me for 7 days and you can make it happen, what would it be? Please tell me, because I'd really love your feedback, because I do love doing these videos, but what I have noticed over the last few weeks as well, there's not been as much engagement in the mornings. So I'd love to know if you're watching them on replay. If you watch them in silent and don't tell me, I don't know that the videos are having a positive impact. And whilst I love doing them and I'm getting some personal benefit out of them because I'm modelling myself as I talk to you, I also like to know that it's adding value and it's useful to you. So please tell me below, what would you like to make happen? If you could make it happen, what would it be? I'd love to know. Speak to you soon. Take care.